Drip marketing rarely, if ever, works. The most important thing we can do is get buyers the properties that they want, or get sellers the values of what the neighborhood homes are selling for. As agents, we have so many hats to wear, and we're always trying to create a really cool follow-up system that'll make sure we deliver excellence to these clients on a timely, relevant basis. But it can be an overwhelming task to map it all out, to proof it, to make sure that it's working the way we want and that it looks professional. This is a masterclass that I did the other day to help agents put the pieces in place and map it out the right way, so you have the greatest chance of not only it not frustrating you to where you want to break your computer, but also so that clients engage with it, so they raise their hand for more information based on the value you've delivered. This will help.
I guess just like if I meet somebody at the open house, and then I put them in follow-up boss, how often do I follow up with them? Do I start following up with them with calls, text? Do I send them anything? Do I email them? Just those kind of things.
Perfect. So for people that don't know, most people know me here, but for people who don't know, I worked at Boomtown, which is a phenomenal CRM. I worked at Conversion, which was what KV Core used to be before they got bought out by Inside Real Estate. I worked at Inside Real Estate. I've worked with the CEOs of those companies. I've worked with the product managers of them. And so I understand those systems and how they operate. And I also have my Ponoisms coaching and consulting company that's all I do is I focus on building systems. So I do consulting for other agents, other teams, other products, and it's not just for first class real estate. It's for EXP. It's for all these other different brokerages and brands. And the first question that I always ask is like, what's the client? What's the source? So for example, here it's EXP. EXP. You're not at EXP. So for the first question that I always ask is like, what's the source, right? And then what's the experience that I want them to have? And by the way, I have a big old whiteboard, and I start out, so like where we go with like open houses, right? And we're focusing on open house buyers. And the first thing that I want to think about is like, okay, who are these open house buyers? Where are they at in the process? Open house buyers are people that are either A, they're out making offers on properties, B, they're getting ready to get into that position, but they're actively going out. I mean, some people, let's be real, some people, like, I love that movie, I Love You, Man, with the guy who just goes there for the free sandwiches, but that's really, really rare, right? These are potential future buyers and future sellers. There's two categories, because you've got the neighbors, right? You've got the neighbors that are coming in and they're nosy, and they're either A, just kind of gathering some information, or B, they're getting ready to sell their home, right? So that's one segment. Homeowners, right? By the way, I love having a whiteboard for this, because of the fact that when you have a whiteboard, you can actually map it out. And it's a big deal for me, because you're taking a concept, you're taking an idea, and then you're going to go put it into your CRM. So I like to map it out so that I can, it's like if you were going to do a road trip, nowadays we just GPS it. But back in the day, you had to get out of your map. You had to go ahead and see where your stops are. You had to do all that stuff. We're doing the same thing. So you've got homeowners and you got renters. You got homeowners and renters, not buyers and sellers. You got homeowners and renters. So you want to be able to identify who they are, and you want to be able to give them an experience. So the first thing we talk about is who are we talking to? What is the customer like? So if people are coming into an open house and they're looking to buy, one thing that I start thinking about is like, what's their experience? How many agents are they coming in contact? How am I going to differentiate myself from those people? And what kind of experience do I want to deliver them? A lot of times the reason why these drip marketing follow-up plans and these automated systems don't work is because they're just this generic relevant stuff that has no value to them in their current process. Okay, so if I have leads coming in, I want to identify where they're at in the process quickly, because then I will know where the value is for them that I can deliver. And now I'm starting to get the content map around. So, oh, thanks, Nathan. I was like, change my view to speaker. So one of those things that I want to always do is I always want to deliver a relevant, valuable, new, different experience. So we have an open house follow-up plan within our KV core, and you can do this within Follow Up Boss. I also look for areas where can I save myself time. So like, for example, Diana, when you're doing your open house, how are you collecting the information? You're doing it
If I don't already get it from just talking to them and asking for their phone number, then I'll have them sign in. A lot of times they will ask me for my business cards, and then I'll say I don't have a actual business cards. I do a virtual one, and that's how I'm able to get their phone number and send it to them.
All right. So when they walk in, you have a sign? You have a sign-in sheet, and you're greeting them, and you're exchanging information, and that information is then how does it get from that point to Follow Up Boss?
Like once I have the contact information, I will go into Follow Up Boss and add them as a new contact, lead source from open house, last name, phone number.
Yeah. So right there, you're doing data entry, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Do you like doing data entry?
No.
I hate doing data entry. In fact, most of the time, I mean, listen, let's be honest with each other. Half the time we do an open house, we take our sign-in sheet and we're like, they were garbage. They were garbage. Ooh, this one has potential. I'll do it for this one. Ooh, this one had an agent. Forget it. But right. Or we're like, open house is done. I'm gonna have a margarita. I'll do that later. Okay. Everybody's like, no, Josh, you're the only real estate agent that drinks. We don't do that. But we make these decisions, right? So again, not a system, not a process. So one thing I love about the KV Core program is that they have an open house app. Okay. And we're refining it. It's not perfect, but we've got these pieces in place where they have an open house app, and you could do this with Follow Up Boss. There's probably a landing page you can create. And what I'm always trying to do is get an experience to create, because also if they're in Follow Up Boss, you can automate that process to start right away. So what we did is we have the open house app. You can have it sign in on your phone. You can do it on a laptop. You can do it on your iPad. You can do it however you want. And when they come in, we say, hey, listen, we do everything electronically and we follow up with relevant information. Thank you for coming to our open house. Sign in here. And when they sign in the app, or they sign in on a landing page, then it automatically starts marketing to them. So we've got it set up that they fill out the form. It then sends them an instant text message, says, hey, thanks for coming to a Josh Pono open house, and it puts a video inside of that text message that says, hey, what's up? I'm Josh Pono. I just wanted to put the face to the name. I'll be following up with you later. Enjoy the tour. Okay, that completely eliminates the data entry. I think it's kind of crazy, and I did it for years. I did it at my open houses, but the systems that I was running at my team when I worked on my team, they didn't have this in place, and I most certainly wasn't going to build systems for teams that were supposed to do it for me at the time. But I would want a landing page, or I would want something to avoid the data entry, because then 100% of my leads are going in and they're getting automatic follow-up. The other thing I want to do is I want to automate some of the follow-up that I know is very low production. So for example, we know that we got to follow up with open house leads. The best thing to do, because they go to multiple open houses, right? And if they go to this one or that one, I don't know about you, but when I would follow up with open house leads, and I would be energetic and jump around and do all these cool, well, my own opinion, but I would do all these different things and have these different conversations. And then I would call them back. We'd have this connection in person. I'd call them back. They're like, which one are you? Who are you? Right. So I want to also increase the familiarity with them. I also want to breadcrumb that. And what I mean by that is just like little bit to build that relationship. So I automated the text message 4 hours later. So they get an instant text message. And by the way, it alerts right there on their phone. Be like, hey, I just sent you a text message. It's got a video. So later, when I follow up with you, you'll remember that we had this conversation. Enjoy the tour. Be well. They go do their thing, or maybe I'm even touring them on. Hey, let me show you around the house. I can show you some special features that they don't have, right? Follow up. And this is the thing. Most of the time as agents or as owners, we want to put a system in place that's going to automatically build relationships with people, but we don't want to think about it on a complex level because it overwhelms us. And a system is not just an automated follow-up, it's an entire process. So it's how are you going to sell them at the open house? And then you bake in your follow-up to go off of that, right? So 4 hours later, and we let them know, like in part of the scripting, hey, listen, I'll check in with you in about 3-4 hours. I'll send you a text message just to see what your thoughts are on the property. And guess what? In 4 hours, there's a text message that automatically goes out and it says, hey, this is Josh again, or this is agent's name again. What did you think about the property? Would you like to see some of the sold homes in the area to figure out the value of the property? Okay, when I'm building out these automations, I just want to get them to engage. So if you set up the system with a landing page or a sign-in sheet, you can do the sign-in sheet, but I've noticed that most agents, and even agents in our office, we're resistant to the change because when you start a new system, there's hiccups. It doesn't work the way you built it. It breaks. And it makes you look kind of goofy to the first few people who are your guinea pigs. I don't really care because I'm building a system that's going to work and be, able to be replicated. And I never let Josh Pono, the salesman, let his uncomfortableness stop my business from growing, because there's Josh Pono, the sales agent, and there's Josh Pono, the CEO, right? Like imagine if Salesforce was like, oh my gosh, we got this incredible Salesforce is a huge software company, right? Huge software company. They're the best in the business when they make software and CRMs for all kinds of different businesses. They sell software that's like $200,000-$300,000 a year, custom solutions. And it's worth it to these major multi-billion-dollar companies because they know that their data is important. Go figure. There's companies that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even millions of dollars on their software just to organize their data. Okay, so when I talk about the uncomfortableness is because the first one's the text message that goes out wrong. The video doesn't come out right. It looks kind of weird. You get a response that's like, ooh, that was uncomfortable. I just take it as good feedback and go, okay, how do I refine it? How do I make it more? How do I and that's where the fun begins. So you set it up to where you have the data entry removed. How do I eliminate the data entry? Because it's, by the way, relying on somebody to do data entry, even yourself, is inefficient. I should fire myself from my company for data entry. I'm the worst at it. And so by eliminating the data entry and getting in there, I can automate the follow-up. I can create an experience. And by the way, I can start making promises that technology will keep for me. Hey, I'm going to follow up with you in 3 or 4 hours. And I use it like generic. And by the way, from the moment they created the lead, it's going to send them out a text message 4 hours later on the dot. And they're going to think one of two things. Damn, this guy's on point. Or B, this guy's smart because he sets up automated follow-up. And maybe they may even test me. And then when they test me and they're like, yeah, I would like to see values. Boop, alert, notification, email, all comes to me directly. And now they're raising their hand. I don't have to call 25 people when I get home from the open house. I just got to deal with the hand raisers. Absolutely. I'm on it. What's your best email address? Is this the right one? I'll confirm it. I'll send it over to you. Make sure you got it. On Monday or 2 days later, I schedule the phone call. If they start engaging with me though, I would call. I would pick up and just call them and say, hey, I'm on it. But I can set it up so they get a text message 4 hours later. If they don't respond, I can set it up to where they get a text message. Hey, just circling back around. What'd you like about the house at 123 Main Street? What didn't you like? I can set up my call for the Monday. I personally would set up if you're going to do an open house on Saturday, you want to do your phone calls at least by the following day. And you want to at least get some text messages right out because they're going to forget about you if you don't start following up with them. And you're most likely to convert the lead within the shortest period of time. New leads that you do not know, you want to get into relationship with them within 10 days, max. Can you win with your system long-term? Absolutely. But your bulk of your return on your investment is going to be right away because they remember you. So now we know, like, okay, so buyers, right? And how do we follow up with them? What do they need? Well, open house buyers, how do we do the value props? And that's where we go back. What are the values that this type of customer needs? So if I were to say to you, and I know you're a successful agent, you've worked with open house buyers, I could ask you, write down the top 10 questions you get from open house buyers. And you could write those down pretty easily. And they come in the form of challenges, concerns, fears, and desires. So what's your content around? It's around answering those questions. It's around answering those questions, because by us addressing those concerns and questions without them ever having to ask, one, it showcases that we're experts in the process. Two, it showcases that we know who they are as a customer. And three, it's valuable to them because we know we're solving challenges for them. We're giving them great service, and it's all relevant to them, which means they're going to click on the stuff higher. They're going to engage with you higher. I get automated marketing all the time that's like, hey, if you want to be a better salesman, call me. I'm like, I'm good. But if I get an email that's like, hey, are you building out multiple systems in your business and struggle with when you're organizing them? We have a software that'll help you organize your systems and create a roadmap to allow you to project out the next 12 months. It's super easy, and we've got 100 people just like yourself that use it and love it. Would you be interested in learning some more? Yeah. Launching offices. That sounds amazing. Right? So the more relevant we make the question, and it goes back to the values. What are the values? People say this all the time. They go, you got to give them value. You got to give them value. And if you ever ask a team leader or an office owner or somebody, they're like, you guys got to deliver value. You got to differentiate yourself. And they're like, cool, what should I do that's valuable? They're like, you got to negotiate better. Shit, tell me you're good. It's just like, it's really, 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 really simple. People want reliable information. Nathan could finish this one for me. They want a great education so that they can make the best decisions. They want to be able to trust you. They want to know you care, and they want to know you can help. That's it. That is it. I'll say it again. People want reliable information and a great education so they can make the best decisions. They need to know that they can trust you, that you care, and that you can help. Well, if you can do that stuff, they're going to like you, and they're going to want to work with you. 1 second. For those of you wondering what I'm doing videos and whatnot, this is a great way to make content for your business to showcase expertise to your audiences. So like, if you're ever doing a Zoom webinar, video is great to make content on. If you have a buyer, like I just wrote down a timestamp so that as I want to cut that little piece and use it as a snippet because people need to hear that. If you ever have a buyer, here's another way to do it. If an open house buyer, you're like, oh, well, Josh, I don't know all the questions. No problem. Let's say you're new. You don't know that. Great. Next time you're at an open house, somebody asks you a question, you answer the question, then you write down that question in your notebook, or you send yourself a text. Buyer open house video content idea. This question. Maybe you don't have the expertise to answer that. Maybe you don't know how to eloquently say that. Maybe you're newer. Maybe you're experienced. Maybe if you're experienced, you know exactly what to say. So then put that on a Word document. Put that in a text message template. Put that in an email template. Put that on a video. Answer that question. Build a system. Answer that question and document it. Building systems and building marketing is just documenting stuff that we do every day, all day. Hey, Josh, I want to sell my house, but I'm nervous I can't find my replacement idea. Our replacement idea. Replacement home. Write down the idea, record a video for it, put it on YouTube. Put it in my drip marketing plan. So then one of the next texts for the people, what do we do about the people that do not follow up with us, do not answer it? You take that video that you made answering one of the questions that's delivering valuable solutions to them, and you put it in a text message 1 week later, and you do it at text and email, and you automate it that 1 week later, hey, most of my buyers, just like you, are wondering about question X. I did a video to showcase the answer. The cool thing about videos, it works 24/7. 19% or 9% of my traffic comes from Germany. People in Germany, they don't like me as much as people in America. They only watch my videos like 7 seconds. But the point is videos work all the time and they go everywhere. I'm also popular in India. That's because my marketing team's in India. But anyway, the point of that, do you see what I'm getting at, Diana?
Yes.
Look, I'm going to pause for a second because I know I just ran and I know it's a lot. And I'm going to, again, this is all being recorded. I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel and you guys can go back and digest it. And then you can come back with where you get stuck. I'm going to open up this form right now. What questions do we have so far? And if you're a little bit overwhelmed, just say that you're rooting for the Vegas Knights in the playoffs and we'll be good. I'll take that as a compliment. And if you're trying to talk and it's muted and it won't let you unmute, just chat me and I'll unmute you because
I have something about the situation about the seller that doesn't want to sell.
Sure.
Is there, like, what would you do about that if your client really wants the house, but the seller's like, I feel that the seller would sell, but it's that agent that I just feel like isn't doing her job maybe correctly or encouraging her, but she said she's tried everything. When do you think I should circle back around to check if, she should go back to her seller and check?
Are you talking about that deal that we had where the seller changed their mind at the last minute?
Yes.
And she wasn't the navigating the deal and extending out the timeline and stuff. Why did they not want to do that?
She didn't get back to me on that. Maybe I should follow up with her about that. But
yeah, I'd follow up with the agent and say, hey, listen, you're based on the concerns that you told me your seller is having, and based on the flexibility that my buyers are capable of facilitating, it seems like this is a non-issue. Tell me more about this. What am I missing? Okay. By the way, I love that. I love that when it's like, hey, listen, I know that it seems like, like when people are having this illogical concern or fear or whatnot, and you provided a logical solution that'll solve their problems, and then they're not moving forward, we're missing a piece of the puzzle. We're missing some sort of information that'll help us move the deal forward. And people are like, well, how do you get them to say it? It's like, hey, listen, I know your seller has ambition to sell. I know as the listing agent, you really want to sell it. As the buyer's agent, I got a buyer that's willing to facilitate it. I know everybody's smart here. What am I missing? Okay. And sometimes as agents, sometimes we even have to coach the other agents on how to get the deal done because they have a seller that they're not well versed on handling, but you can't really tell them how to do it because they don't want to be told how to do their job. Nobody likes that. And so we do it in the form of a question, well, I don't know. She wouldn't tell you. Gosh, it just seems like the way for us to move forward is to find out that answer. When's your next call with her? All right, moving back into systems and whatnot. Does anybody else have, so if like for the open house, like how do you get started, Diana? How you get started is one, I would try to call Follow-Up Boss, right? KV Core has an app that solves the data entry and has all that stuff. KV Core is like because you're with Real, right?
I've been looking.
Yeah, I'm with Real.
Of companies
that you're with Real and they do not provide a CRM. You guys have it through your team. I would go to Follow-Up Boss and say, hey, what can we do at open houses? Can we create a landing page? And I would just flat out tell them, hey, KV Core has this really cool open house. And essentially what it is, it's just a landing page that shows up and they can fill it out. And then it automatically puts the lead in my system. How do I get that's always my first question. How do I get the leads into my CRM?
Okay.
Without having to do data entry? Okay, that's the first thing that I always want to do anytime I'm building a system. Number one, how do I get the leads from standing in front of me or from Zillow or from Google or from Facebook or from wherever, cancel expires, wherever, how do I get the lead into my CRM? Because that's where all of your marketing and your follow-up and your process should be. Okay. Step 2 is what kind of experience, what kind of experience do I want to give to my prospects? The experience I want to give to open house people is, 1, I'm energetic, I'm knowledgeable, I'm experienced, I know the questions and the concerns they have. And when I say I'm going to follow up, I specifically do that on that timeline, and I only give you relevant value. And the reason why I want them to have that experience is so that when I'm in the open house, I can use my marketing as leverage and sell them to engage with it. So what that means is, as I'm closing out an open house, I can say, hey, everybody, I'm so excited that you can't, or hey, thanks for coming. Do you have any questions about the property? No, we're fine, right? Like what they typically do. No, we're fine. We're just going to think about it. We're looking at some other homes. We're way out. Hey, no worries. The seller asked me specifically just to make sure I get some feedback. I'll shoot you. I know you got to think about it, and it's a lot to think about, on the spot. I don't want to put you on the spot. So I'll send you a text message a little bit later, just asking for some feedback. It's going to come from the same exact number that I already texted you from with my system. And if you could just give me some feedback, that'd be great. I'll follow up with you. If you want to make an offer, do you want to make an offer? If you want to make an offer, let me know. I'll follow up with you. We can handle that as well. And they get to go on their way. And I know that 4 hours from now, they're going to get a text message. I've already sold them to engage with me. And then I take it from there. That's the first thing I would do, is figure out, how am I going to get the leads, get this data entry off my spot? If you're doing open houses regularly and you're getting 10, 15, 20 people into your open house, and you're putting 10, 15, 20 people in there, 1, you're most likely not putting 100% of the contacts in, which, by the way, I don't care if they're a year and a half, 2 years out. I still want to market to them. I still want to be the one that gets in front of them. I still want to do business with them. I still want to have that long-term nurture. You start there. And real simply, you want to follow up with them with a text. You want to follow up with them with a phone call. And then you want to build, start with just 3 or 4 of the most valuable things. Like buyers right now, I would talk about the major value props I would talk about. 1, what's the number one thing every single buyer can do to get a better price on the house? The answer is get a fully underwritten approval so that they can waive their loan contingency with no risk. That's the number one thing any buyer can do right now to make their offers better. It doesn't cost them any money, doesn't cost them any time, doesn't cost them anything. It just makes them look awesome. So make a video about that, make an email about that, make a text message about that. Second thing for buyers, there's no inventory. So do you have a solution in your business to find off-market properties? Do you have the ability to go open up inventory for them? We do. We do a lot of cancel and expired. So we have 6,000, 7,000 properties that haven't sold in the last couple of years that were on the market, came off the market. We've got the owner's numbers. We can circle prospect. So you could do a video that says, hey, one of the things that I'm willing to do for my clients, my committed buyers, is I have relationships with my title reps. I have relationships with circle prospecting companies. I have relationships with sellers that were on the market that didn't sell. I can call them. If you're in the right position and you're prepared to be the right buyer, I can show you how we can go find a home that doesn't exist on the market that is interested in selling, and you'll face less competition because you'll be the only buyer that knows about it. If that's something you're interested in, let's talk. That's another really big value. New listing alerts. The number one thing that's going to bring a buyer back to your website or get them to engage with you are the new listing alerts. KV Core automatically sets up every lead that gets put into the system with listing alerts, and they base it around the open house app. So when you do the open house app with KV Core, it asks you for the MLS number, it asks you for the property address, and then it builds new listing alerts around that. So it's automatic. Pretty cool. Just another thing I hate doing. I literally hired my wife to make her manager, what kind of content do you send out through email when they're a year out or before buying and selling? Good question, Martha. 1 second. I literally have Michelle set up new listing alerts because I don't like doing it that much. As a real estate agent, it's kind of funny. But KV, Follow Up Boss, I think they have an IDX integration that'll automatically do that as well. So part of your system is that every lead that goes into the open house bucket, hashtag open house, also gets set up for new listing alerts. Another value prop for buyers in this market, outside of full underwriting approval, outside of new listing alerts, outside of off-market properties, is you can build a video around pain. Missing out on a home in an appreciating market costs them money. So you could do a video or a text message. Hey, tired of losing out on offers? Tired of making offers on homes that you really want to buy only to find out you didn't win? Are you getting left at the altar wondering why? One of the things that has absolutely helped me get more buyers in this market and in 2020, 2021, 2022 was the question around hey, out of curiosity, have you made any offers on homes? Yeah, we have. Well, what happened? Because you're still touring homes. Well, we didn't win. Really? Why didn't you win? Why didn't you win the offer? You didn't. What do you mean? You made an offer and it didn't get accepted? That's weird. Why not? Well, we don't know. We got a call and they said we didn't win. So wait, you had to wait until after the seller decided to even know whether you were in the game or not, and then you found out heartbreaking news, you got left at the altar? How'd that feel? That sucks. Hey, do you understand that every time that happens to you, or let me rephrase that, I'm jumping ahead of one question. Have you noticed home prices going up since you made that offer? Yeah, I have. You know, it's interesting because a lot of my clients like yourself, they finally realize, and what you're going through is that every time you lose out on a property, it costs you money. Quick question for you. Are you in an exclusive, committed, trusting, successful relationship with your real estate agent? I know they're not. They just told me they failed. And sometimes they'll say, yeah, I'm absolutely committed. Okay, incredible. So you signed an exclusive buyer representation agreement just to verify? Yeah, we did. Oh, well, you know what? If anything goes wrong, you let me know. I have a system around how to get offers accepted at a very high rate. There's content around that. Hey, here's the top 3 things I do to get your offers accepted. One of your emails for 2 months out, 3 months out, 6 months out, 2 weeks out, whatever. Hey, are you tired of missing out on homes, making offers and not finding out till the end? I did a video about it. Click here. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, going into the questions. Where'd the chat go? Chat. Question. What kind of content do you send out through email when they're a year out before buying and selling? Again, it goes back to what is a buyer, right? Because it always goes back to what is going to be relevant to that buyer. So the question that I always ask myself anytime I'm doing that is like, okay, if they're a year out, what do they need to know? Well, they need to start making sure that they are pre-approved or they know everything they need to do to get pre-approved, right? If I'm thinking about buying an investment property, now as real estate agents, we know the process, so we do that, right? Most people think, oh, I just call up, I get pre-approved, or I'm not ready to go yet now. But they may have a lower credit score. They may have things that take time to put in place. So some of the content could be, do you think getting a pre-approval is super simple and just takes a couple days? Or do you know that there's a few things in your way that you can use professional resources around? That's some content. Education about the pre-approval process. Top 3 things buyers make mistakes on while getting pre-approved. The number 1 mistake that every buyer makes by waiting too long to get their pre-approval process started. Stories about, hey, I had this buyer who thought that they were going to be able to buy a home. They waited forever to get a pre-approval. Then they found out that they had a credit score issue by 7 points. They then had to hire a company to go get something removed. That process took 3 or 4 months. They wanted to buy, they were ready to buy, but they couldn't buy because they started too late. If you need help putting pieces in place so that when you're ready to buy, you're ready to rock and roll and there's no hiccups, let me know. Market updates. One of the things that I want to make sure that I do is, and it could be a quarterly thing, it could be a monthly thing. You got to decide on what your audience needs, but market updates. Hey, here's what this quarter is looking like. Here's the next quarter. I did a video on my YouTube channel that talked about how I do my market updates. How I do my market updates so that they're unique and they are with real information, and you can go on there of like, how do I read the numbers? How do I read the numbers so that I can actually explain the information that helps people understand that stuff? I'm trying to find it on YouTube right now. New listing alerts, right? Sold properties. When I talk to buyers that are a year out, I say, hey, let's get into a buyer consultation, or let's start identifying the areas that you want to look in, and let's start sending you sold properties and new properties so you can see what the market is doing. Because over the next year, you should educate yourself about the market. If you're going to buy a home in La Mesa in a year, you want to be able to know that one thing you can do to prep is you can get really comfortable with the market so that when you go to make an offer, you know you're paying the right price. New listing alerts for sold listings. And well, I'm not really ready for that. No problem. It's a once a month email. I'll send you some sold listings. I'll send you some new listings, and I'll make sure that you only get it once a month. So that way, when you're bored and you just want to take 5-10 minutes instead of endlessly scrolling on YouTube or Instagram, you can do a little bit of homework, because homework in real estate means you get a better price. Just so you know, the smartest buyers get the best prices. Here's a video that I did on YouTube that talks about reading the housing market and reading the 5 metrics. That's another one. Helping them read the 5 metrics. So let me show you something. That's that video. And then that's that video of like reading the real estate market to become the local real estate economist of choice. That video that I just put in the chat, that's that one. And it's going to talk about what I'm about to talk about now. But there's five metrics, and I learned this from my mentors. The guy that sells 120 homes a year like clockwork every single year for the last 15 years. He built the system, and he taught me this. But there's 5 major metrics that you can do this with buyers, right? There's 5 major metrics that drive any housing market. Number 1, house prices. The higher prices go. And by the way, this is the exact same speech I give in my buyer consultations. I say something along the lines like, hey, in order to be the best, the most educated buyer, to get the best price, you got to know a little bit about where we've been, and you got to know about where we're going, so that way you feel really comfortable with the market. To read the market in real estate, there's 5 metrics to read, and it pretty much gives you an idea of where things are going. 1, real estate prices. The higher the prices go, the less demand, because less people can afford, right? So if you got escalating prices, you got a decrease in demand. Number 2 is demand, closed sales. That's how you measure what the demand is. The higher the demand, the higher the pricing. The lower the demand, the lower the pricing. Now, that doesn't always go specifically like that, because number 3 is inventory. If you've got really high inventory, you get downward pressure on pricing. If you've got really low inventory, you get a lot of upward pressure on pricing, which we've seen in the market. Which takes us to the number 4 one, which is median home sales. Interest rates, which takes us to interest rates, because if you got low inventory and you got low interest rates, then you really get pressure. Because we also know with interest rates, the lower the interest rates, the more pressure on upward pricing, the more appreciation. The higher the interest rates, the more downward pressure on pricing. And last but not least is affordability. Job markets, inflation, all that stuff plays into it. So right now in our market, we've got really low inventory. We've got low demand, but it's still outpacing the supply. We've got downward pressure on interest rates. So people are trying to buy now and then refinance later. And the median price has gone up, which is putting a little more downward pressure on demand. Likely, we're going to see appreciating prices simply because interest rates are coming down, inventory isn't going up, and we have lower inventory than we've almost ever had. You can do a video on why is the inventory so low? Well, the inventory is extremely low because there's people like myself that have a really cool house that they got a 2.8% interest rate on. So for me to go get an extra 400 square feet or upgrade in location or get a different backyard with a pool or something, even if I bought the same exact house, I'd be paying more money because my interest rate's 2.5 times higher. So the idea of going and getting a little bit better of a house for double the mortgage, my kids are going to have to share a room for a little bit longer. Downsizers. I want to cut costs, cut work. But if I got to go get a smaller house that I like less and I still got to pay more because my interest rate's higher, what's the point? I'll just go hire a gardener. So there's no incentive there. The only people that are transacting real estate are the people that really need to transact real estate, or the people that really, really, really want to, or the savviest people that know that it's a long-term game and they're doing really well in life, so they've got the money. So videos on why is the inventory low, videos on what's going on with interest rates, right? One of the things that I do is I have a lender that's super focused on hanging out with really smart people like Barry Habib. Barry Habib is somebody that you can follow and become a mortgage expert overnight on. A lot of times in my buyer consultations, I'll say like, hey, do you know who Barry Habib is? And they're like, no, I don't. I'm like, he's one of the guys that called the crash. He knows exactly what's going on in the economy. And I don't know what's going on, but I can tell you Barry's really smart. And let me tell you what Barry said. All of a sudden, I'm a super expert. So again, it goes back to what does a buyer need to learn over a year? What questions do they have? What things are they seeing online? We know that buyers right now, they're seeing appreciating prices, they're seeing high interest rates. So giving them information and comfort and value around those answers are going to be things that they're going to engage with. And then you can sprinkle in some mass marketing of a market update every quarter or new listing alerts to help them understand what the solds are. And you just rinse and repeat the message of, listen, I don't care whether you buy tomorrow, buy in 6 months, buy in a year, 2 years, 5 years, never. My job is to educate people. And by the way, even if you never buy a home from me and I spend 3 or 4 hours with you and you never buy a home, I still win. And they're like, what do you mean? If somebody asked you, if I spent 4 hours educating you, giving you amazing value, helping you at every step of the way, and you never bought a home from me, and then somebody at work was like, I really need a great agent, what would you say? You'd introduce me to that person, wouldn't you? Of course you would. So I win no matter what. So no obligation, no commitment. I don't care if you buy in a year, but I do have a really phenomenal system where I educate you about all the questions that you have. And it's never spam. It's never garbage. It's never BS. It's only the most relevant information. And I also do a quarterly update where I give you the insight on whether you're buying or selling, what the message is. So that way you're always educated. Is that going to be of value to you? Sure. Great. Awesome. What's your best email address? If you want to create a system, know who the prospects are, know what the questions they have, answer the questions, and continue to deliver that information to them on a regular basis. Use your technology to automate it because it's the same stuff. And then your mass marketing is for the stuff that changes, like market update, interest rate update. Everything else is the same. Buyers have the same fears, sellers have the same fears, buyers have the same questions, sellers have the same questions. That's one of the hardest parts about sales is how do you sound enthusiastic and energetic when you literally handled the same question a million times? That was my biggest challenge working in the real estate marketing side, Boomtown Conversion, Inside Real Estate, Z57, Agent Jet. I worked there 8 years working with agents, selling them websites, lead gen, teaching them how to do stuff. My biggest challenge was that there was no question that any agent could tell me. There was no fear that they could tell me. And I got burnt out of like, how it's like Eminem says in his songs, how many times can you rhyme the same words differently and really be enthusiastic about it, right? That's the struggle that we face. But the best part about that is we can build value and automate it. And then we become marketers, and then we can hire somebody to take the leads. And then we can all get what we really, really wanted, which was building wealth and creating freedom of time around our schedule.